Hello and welcome to Anatomy and Physiology. This video is designed to help you get started as efficiently as possible in this hybrid course. Hybrid courses have both an online component to the course and in-class time as well. This course is split such that you'll have approximately 2 hours of online work to do each week, and then you will have a 1-hour in-class session with your professor. Hybrid courses can be a challenge because there is this major online component to the course, even though there's still class time, and so being able to find items on DC Connect is important in order to start off efficiently in this or really any other course that you might be taking this semester or in future semesters. Where do I go for things like videos or notes or any of the other helpful resources that might be found within the class on DC Connect? This video is designed in order for you to both release the components of this course a little bit at a time, while taking the time to look through those components and get familiar with where the different items that we just mentioned are located. At this point, scroll over the video so the menu below it appears. There should be a YouTube link that looks like this. Go to that YouTube link and right-click on it. The menu that appears will have an option to select Open in New Window. Select that option to open the YouTube video into a separate window. What I would suggest is set up your screen in such a way that it actually looks something like this, where you have the video off to one side and then the course open in DC Connect off to the other side. That way I can help guide you through the course as you watch this video, but then you can actually play within the course on DC Connect within the window on the left side. What I'm going to do at this point is just focus in on the actual course itself in DC Connect so that we can get a closer view of the course itself as I walk you through these steps. So here's the course just by itself. What you'll notice is that on this home screen there is only the news widget as shown here, where you got started at the beginning of this video. Along the top there's actually the navigation bar where you can see course home, content, please review, quizzes, communication, and grades. Each of these is a link that will get you to an important component of the course. So let's start by actually going to course content. When you click on that, it will bring you over to the area where you will find all the course content. Right now, we actually only have one module open, and that is the Bio 1503 starts here, Welcome to Bio 1503. What I would suggest now is actually click on that link. When you go into the Welcome to Bio 1503, there's important information there about your professor, how to contact your professor, how to prepare for the first day of class. As I scroll down here, you'll see that the course outline is linked there, program guides for dental assisting and personal support worker, top tips for success in online courses, help with DC Connect, and then logging into DC Mail. What I suggest is that you actually pause the video at this point to be able to go through and look at each of those resources as well as read through the introduction to your professor so that you can get acquainted with the course and the resources that are available here to help with your success. Now that you've had a chance to look through this Welcome to Bio 1503 webpage, I will point out a couple of things. In each of the web pages that you will go to, that we'll see later, even where you come across the course material itself, there is this portion at the bottom of the course. It's got some important links for you. We'll talk about SALS and ASK and the School of Health and Community Services at other portions of this video, but each of these links here will bring you to the SALS website, will open an email that you can send to SALS or SALS YouTube page. ASK has a website as well as the ability to email them, and this will bring you to the School of Health and Community Services webpage. So that way, if at any point you think that you could make use of any of these resources, the links are always available at the bottom of any of the pages that you open. What I would say at this point is actually scroll back up and go back to content. What you'll notice is now that you've visited the Welcome to Biology 1503 webpage, the course details for Bio 1503 is open as well. If you click on that, it brings you to another web page. At this point, click on the course details for Bio 1503. It will bring you to details about how Bio fits into your program, the format of Bio, details about the textbook, whether you need to purchase it, and then resources that are available to you about what do I learn and when do I learn it. There's another link here for the course outline. But as well, there's also a sequence of instruction that breaks down week by week what material is covered in the course. I highly recommend downloading that and printing off a copy. In addition to that, there's information about how you will be evaluated in the course. Of course, the information posted here is not accurate to your class because you're taking this in a different semester. But what I would suggest again is pause the video at this point and take the time to actually go through this portion of the course in order to get important details about your course. Now that you've taken the time to look through course details for BIOL, scroll back up and again click on Content. What you'll see is there's actually a new module that has opened, Support Services for BIOL. Click on the link there and it will bring you to this web page about how to be successful in a hybrid course. We have information about top tips for succeeding in an online course, and then other ways that Durham College will support your success. Some of the items at this portion of the page are related to the resources that I mentioned were linked at the bottom of each of the web pages for the class. Again, take the time by pausing the video now to actually explore through that information to see how it can ultimately support your success in this program. Now that you've gone through Success Matters, How Can I Be Successful in a Hybrid Course, click back on Content. At this point, you will see that Week 1's content is now open. Week 1 is made up of Unit 1, Introduction to the Human Body. Each of the weeks is made up of 1 or 2 units that is laid out in the same way that Unit 1 here is actually laid out. Let's take the time now to actually go through Unit 1 in order to understand how this is laid out. Start by clicking on Unit 1, Introduction to the Human Body, Introduction. When we click on that link, what we will find is this web page that starts us off as introductory material to this unit. It starts off with a brief paragraph or 2, depending on the unit, introducing the concepts discussed. Below that are the learning objectives, what you will learn about in the modules that follow. These learning objectives are the same learning objectives that you will find in your course outline. Finally, there's a connection activity. These are activities that will help you get started prior to actually getting into the content for that unit. In this case, this is an introductory video posted by National Geographic about Introduction to the Human Body. One thing I will mention here is these videos or activities are not necessarily required items. You often have students asking, will this be on the test? Do I need to watch these videos or do these activities? These activities are here in order to get you started, and sometimes it's nice to have a different point of view, different images in order to start to get the mind going in regards to the unit and the material that you're about to cover within that unit. What we can then do is scroll down and you'll see that these arrows down in the right side, or if we scroll up, there are arrows at the top as well. If we click on the next button, it will take us to Unit 1, Introduction to the Human Body, Part 1. Here what you will find are learning objectives that are covered in Part 1. These are the same 6 learning objectives that started off the larger list that we saw a moment ago in the Introduction webpage. If we scroll down, we get to the content activity. In this portion of the page, you can download the course notes by clicking on the hyperlink. When you click on that, it will open a Word document that are the course notes for Unit 1. One item that I will mention is these Unit 1 notes cover all of the learning objectives for Unit 1, not just the learning objectives for this section, Part 1. Once you've downloaded and perhaps printed the notes, you can then click on the video for Introduction to the Human Body, Part 1. The video will play in this screen, or you can actually open the video into an entire screen or even watch it in YouTube itself. Following watching this video and perhaps the other videos, you can then refer to your textbook at any point afterwards or during in order to help clarify and develop your understanding of the concepts. I would say this is an important thing to do because not all material is necessarily covered or necessarily clear through watching these videos. The textbook is a great resource to go to in order to gather more information or get a different aspect of the content such that you can actually learn that material. Following watching the videos and taking notes, you can scroll down and there's a practice activity at the bottom of each part within this unit. These questions are interactive such that you can read which of the following is the branch of science that studies the function of the body. There are 4 options here that you can actually click on in order to find the right answer. I won't click on them now because these are good practice for you after watching the video and reviewing the material to actually go through and try to answer the questions. What you can then do is click on the next arrow and it will bring you to the next part, part 2. And as you continue through, they're all laid out in a similar fashion to what we just saw for part 1. Finally, you get to Introduction to the Human Body, or whichever unit you're looking at, and the summary. So now that you've actually completed all of the content for Unit 1, there's some suggestions about how to be successful on the assessments for this unit. It suggests to review the learning outcomes for the unit and make sure that you understand all the appropriate content. Here are the learning objectives below. These are the same learning objectives as in your course outline, as well as in the introduction module that we saw earlier. Once you've gone through the learning objectives and feel comfortable with them, you can move down to the summary activities and take a look at those. What I would suggest is textbook review, and the pages and appropriate chapter are provided. So chapter 1, pages 12 to 14, there's actually review questions in the textbook. Also, you've purchased the study guide along with the textbook. So on pages 1 to 7, there are chapter 1 practice questions in the study guide. I would use those along with the textbook questions in order to prepare for class after watching the videos to make sure that you understand that material. The one thing I will say at this point is some of these questions are questions involving unhealthy pathophysiology content that is covered to some extent within your textbook. Within this course, we are actually only looking at normal anatomical and physiological function. So as you go through these practice questions, you do not necessarily need to be able to answer all questions, particularly the portions that are asking questions about illness or the pathophysiology. Finally, for grades, there's some material listed here where this is actually a hyperlink to online quiz for week 1. Your professor will open the online quiz after class and leave it open for a set amount of time that they will tell you about. For the online quiz, you actually only have one opportunity to take it within the time that the professor has it open for. So you can't take it multiple times in order to improve your grade. And so what I highly recommend is that you go through all the videos, making your notes, going through the textbook review, going to class in order to be able to get clarification on any questions you actually have prior to taking the online quiz. Below that, you can see Test 1 is listed and which week it actually takes place in and the units that it covers. Units 1 through 6 are covered for Test 1. What we've gone through here is week 1 and only Unit 1's content. Before I move on here, what I will say is that you should read the instructions carefully. One challenge is that sometimes you get into a routine and you might get a couple of units in and something changes within this information, particularly that some of the online quizzes cover multiple units, because multiple units are covered in a week. You wouldn't want to start the online quiz, let's say for week 2, after only covering one of the 2 units, because the online quiz will cover both units together. So be sure to follow instructions carefully as you set out in this course. Now that we've taken a brief look at Unit 1 within Week 1, I'll say scroll back up top, and if you go to Content, what you'll see is Week 1 is still the only week that is open, because the rest of the weeks will open based on the prof releasing those weeks as the weeks go by in the course. During week 1, when you actually meet as a class, you will discuss with your prof the best option for your class of when to open the weeks and how far ahead the prof should open the weeks. At this point, you should go and click on Course Home. What you'll notice is that earlier when we started out, there was just the news widget on the course homepage. Now that we've gone through this together, there is a This Week's Content within the course homepage. Of course, it's not currently week 12. Yours should have the appropriate content listed. This will help you to keep on track with what content you should be on in terms of the course, and it will match to the quiz that will then be open later in the week after you have class together. Additionally, there is a Days Left in Semester widget. You don't only have 17 days left in your class, but whatever number of days are actually listed in your course. It shows you how many days are left and reminds you to keep up with your time management plan that will be discussed in brief at the beginning of this course, as well as there are resources like Sal's that you can go to in order to get help with time management. Finally, there's the Please Review widget shown here. What this is actually a survey where you can click on these links and ask any concepts that you would like clarification on from your prof during class that week. This is an anonymous survey where you can actually list as many things as you might like. Perhaps you're struggling with the cell, specifically the cell membrane. Additionally, the nucleus might be a challenge. And so you can fill those in and then click on Save or Submit, depending on what you'd like to do. To send the information to your prof, you can actually click Submit. Your prof will be able to see the things you would like to review in class, but it is 100% completely anonymous. The prof will not know that it is you who has submitted that survey, but they will be able to review this material for the entire class. This is not here because you can't speak to your professor in person before, after, or during class. This is not here because you cannot email your professor, but it's just another way to connect with your professor in order to get the support that you need for the course, because ultimately the professor is there to support your learning that you're doing in the hours that you're spending online each week. Finally, we can look up here and see that there's a link to quizzes. If I click on quizzes, there are actually no quizzes listed here because no quizzes have been opened by the professor for the semester. However, during the semester when your professor opens quizzes, they will be here by clicking on quizzes listed out as more and more are added. Under the Grades tab, you can find your grades for the course. And then under Communication, you can find a link to the calendar, class lists in order to maybe connect with your classmates, DC mail, email, and news. There are multiple ways to get to these items because, as you might remember, back here in the course home, there are the news items. And you can actually click on news and it will bring you to the news items that are posted there. What I will say at this point is, again, welcome to Anatomy and Physiology. If you have any questions about any of the instructions that we've gone through here today, then bring them to class the first week of classes and ask your professor, who will probably review some of this same material, but also will look forward to hearing any questions that you have so that they can clarify the material for yourself as well as your classmates who probably have similar questions.